Hello and welcome back to the Villa Fella podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, I know we're still pretty buzzing off Thursday night. We've left this one a bit late because, sometimes you just have to enjoy the win, don't you, mate?
You certainly do, mate. You certainly do, especially when they come in such an incredible manner, really, mate. It's only right that we drink it in because those don't come too often, do they?
No, they absolutely don't. But before we get into this short but sweet West Ham versus Villa preview, we have a message from today's video sponsors. Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
Is a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly
We
for you
sure do,
guys.
mate.
It's OneFootball. Guys, this app is genuinely, it's life-changing.
It's great because I actually I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from like across Europe for all the different leagues for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free. And guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that OneFootball using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. So, guys, if you haven't checked out OneFootball, make sure you do so using the top link in the description. It helps Dan and I out more than you can imagine. They're the reason this preview is coming to you today. Now, Dan,
Yep.
The thing is, West Ham, before we'd have gone and battered Southampton and Leeds, I'd have said that this is a total write-off. They're coming in this off the back of two quite disappointing, well, three if you count the Europa League, three really disappointing defeats where they've only scored one goal in those three games in the FA Cup against Southampton. Of course, they're a really good team and you can't discredit that from them. But it could be the perfect time to play West Ham, Dan, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think that Europa League game is the big thing there, mate. I think that's what's really going to play into our hands. I think, considering that they lost as well, which I think really helped us. Obviously, they were out in Sevilla. They didn't play too badly, but the result didn't go their way. They lost 1-0 thanks to a goal from Munir El Haddadi. So yeah, with that game happening on Thursday, they obviously had the flight back to London. Quick turnaround before this game with Villa, before they have that all important home leg of that tie on Thursday. So you sort of hope that they have one eye on that. That obviously, in terms of their season, that's the bigger game. It doesn't looks for a little bit like they could have got into the Champions League. And you sort of look at it now and you think, realistically, whoever gets through that tie with Sevilla could be one of the favourites for the trophy. And obviously, if you win the Europa League, you do get the spot in the Champions League. So it is probably West Ham's best chance of playing Champions League football next season. So it's a very important game for them. And as I said, let's hope that they've got one eye on that when they play us on Sunday, mate.
Absolutely, mate. I think Sevilla over the past 5 years have a 94% win rate when it comes to the knockout matches in the Europa League. It's just their trophy, Europa League merchants, and you've got to rate it for them, to be fair. But what interests me, Dan, about this matchup, specifically system-wise from Villa, I did think, to be honest, and we mentioned it in the preview, I thought Villa were going to ditch the two up top against Leeds. I thought we'd maybe look to change things up, especially when you see Marsh come out in his pre-game interview and say, yeah, we know they play a diamond, we've got to get close. He literally explained perfectly how to stop Villa. Leeds just weren't able to do it because they're absolutely shit. But I think packing the midfield in that way, which we have done over the past three games now, is going to lend itself perfectly to this game, Dan, because a midfield two, which, by the way, is arguably one of the best midfield twos in the league of Thomas Soucek and Declan Rice, you're going to want to be all over them and really suffocate them on the ball. And I think, Dougie and John McGinn both had a fantastic game the other day. Wasn't Jacob's best game, if we're being completely honest. I would like to see Morgan Sanson come in there, and I think he would have and apply the right energy and skill set to what Villa need to really suffocate that pairing and win that battle in the midfield, because I think that's where Villa are going to have to win the battle, essentially. Dan, you've got two strikers. We're going to have to create chances through the middle and overwhelming the likes of Soucek and Rice. That's going to be aim number one, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I was really impressed by how aggressive and how tenacious we were in the midfield against Leeds. I think McGinn, especially, really stood up to that test and set the tempo for just how aggressive we needed to be in that midfield. And if we're going to get anything, especially at home, you've got to stop the likes of Rice getting his foot on the ball, allowing him too much time to sort of dictate the game. Souček as well is exactly the same. You know, it's about sort of the two very good players above all else. You know, I don't want to just bracket these guys and say, yeah, they're hyper aggressive, they're very strong and sort of box them in as that, because everything like that aside, they're two very, very technically gifted players. And so yeah, you have to harry them, you have to hustle them, you have to get in their faces and make sure that they don't, with that stature, allow them to put their footprints all over the game, mate. Because if you do, I think, especially away from home, you've lost before you've already begun. And I think that's the thing which really helped us win in the manner that we did against Leeds, in how we managed to stand up to that test. I think it will be interesting to see if West Ham employ any sort of changes, because as you said, it's not been the best time for them recently. But yeah, mate, I think definitely when we look at that, the sort of the way that we'll line up, that midfield diamond, four of those guys in the middle of the park, so West Ham's three, we have to do a good job of making sure that we, even if we don't win that midfield battle, that we don't allow them to draw ahead.
Absolutely. And again, another area which I think could be cause for concern, especially if you look at the game that was played at Villa Park, Dan. The fullbacks now, they don't have Kufal available as he is not fit, which is always a good thing. But Ben Johnson scored against us last time. Aaron Cresswell has kind of revitalised his career really over the past sort of 18 months, hasn't he? He kind of looks dead and buried to a certain extent. But, you know, he's alive and kicking right now. He's looking very decent for West Ham. Again, you know, another thing to note from the performance against Leeds, Dan, and just from the past few games in general, how much more reserved the fullbacks have been, both Kashi and Dean. Absolutely fantastic. Just sitting a little bit deeper, which is the reason Villa aren't conceding goals, Dan. 3 clean sheets in 3 games. If you can leave the London Stadium with a clean sheet, I think that will totally be down to the discipline again from the fullbacks, because I think Callum and Tyrone have been imperious. They've been fantastic. Emmy as well, it goes without saying. Not that he really had anything to do against Leeds. That was just a nice little 90-minute stand around on the pitch for him. But if Villa are to walk away with a clean sheet, it's going to be because of Kashi and Dean and how they apply themselves in the defensive third. Especially, you know, West Ham's depth that they've got for them sort of forward and wing positions are absolutely mad. Vlasic and Fornals played there the other night. Lanzini can obviously play there. They've got the likes of Yarmolenko, who I believe has been having a bit of time off, they say, because of the war, but he wasn't even in the team before the war. Not dismissing it's being a tough time for him, but he was nowhere near the team before that. Antonio, you know, when he gets firing, mate, he's a real handful. So it's going to be interesting to see how that battle plays out, essentially. And hopefully Villa can capitalise on West Ham, who I think it's fair to say are probably at the lowest point in their season in terms of morale and definitely performances as well. You know, even it was a fantastic game that they played against Wolves the other week. I think that was the last game that they've actually managed to get a win. At 1-0 at home on the 27th of February is a fantastic game, but they look so vulnerable on the counter-attack, and Wolves could have had 2 or 3 had they not have been in their little stump of form that they're currently in as well, mate.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. It's very interesting to see just how far this sort of rut that West Ham are in are extending into that playing squad, as you said, mate. You know, they're without Jared Bowen, who limped off against Liverpool last week with an injury to his heel. Declan Rice actually missed that game because of illness, but he did return to face Sevilla. You know, you've got the likes of Antonio. You mentioned that lack of goals from him. He's if he doesn't score in this game of the weekend, that will be 9 Premier League appearances without a goal for him. It's the first time he's done that since a run that stretched from November 2019 to February 2020. And it's, you know, this will be 4 consecutive matches in which they've lost if we do manage to get that win, mate. That's the first time that's happened since 2017 for them. You're right in saying that this is a very interesting side to play, West Ham. I'm not at all writing them off. I do think this will be a very tough game still. You know, you mentioned that back line. It'll actually be Tyrone's birthday on the day that we play West Ham. If you know, happy birthday to Tyrone in advance for tomorrow, his big 29th. So let's hope that we can cap it off with a victory, mate, because yeah, this West Ham side aren't the side that they were early on in the season. They are slowly slipping further and further down the season. And that's, the table. And that's why I say, mate, these Europa League games are really, really important. I think they now represent West Ham's best chance of any kind of success this season. Only 1-0 down to Sevilla. I think naturally attention will be on that, but they will have a lot of priority on making sure they cut this run that are in this slump needs to end for them to make sure that this season looks as respectable as it ends as it did when it started. So they'll be without some key players. And I think, you know, you mentioned Sanson coming in and stuff like that. I think there'll be some changes from the Villa as well, mate.
Hopefully, mate, fingers crossed. I think it's just nice to kind of let Morgan, fantastic cameo again. I don't want to repeat myself from the last podcast, but that he needs minutes. And I think JJ, he's I don't want to say struggling. I just think sometimes you need to rest a player. He's young. He hasn't necessarily put a foot wrong, but it's a squad game. You've got to look at the squad in a holistic manner. And I think, you know, managing JJ's game time right now isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. And I think it would send, you know, if you're playing Sanson, I think that would send Carney the kind of message that I think he needs while he's stalling. But I think the less said on that until we know more, the better. But guys, let us know in the comment section down below your thoughts, your predictions. Are you buzzing for this one? Short turnaround, I know, 2 o'clock kickoff tomorrow. Let us know if anybody is at the London Stadium. It would be great to say hi and whatnot. And safe travels. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all still buzzing. Mm-hmm. And here's the 3 points. Up the Villa.